certain deductibles you can deduct. There's some
Sorry,
things
I was supposed to
that's
start
okay.
recording a long time ago per the
Oh,
request of someone, and I totally forgot it. But I'm
that's
doing it
okay.
now.
It's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So as I was saying, yeah, you have a lower down payment when you go to the closing table. There's a lower down payment, and these your property taxes and interest and things can be deductible during tax time. An investment property, there are higher down payments, as Brittany talked about the hard money loan. Yes, that's definitely a higher down payment, and they have a very quick turnaround where they want you to pay them back their money. However, there are other different loans that you can get with investment as well. And the most you have to put down is a 20%. So 20% can be very expensive based on the purchase price of the house. So it's 20% of the purchase price of the house. The blessed thing about it, like Brittany talked about, her hold, that is steady income coming in as on from an investment point of view. As long as it's not vacant, you don't have any vacancy rates, and it's constantly being rented out, that's income, that's residual income coming in. And you also, as she talked about again, you also can deduct your expenses on your taxes. So you kind of like paying a little less in taxes once you do all your profit and loss. So that's the difference between the two. Personal investment, personal deductible, lower down payment, investment, higher down payment, and you can claim your profit and loss.
Yeah. Um, great feedback. And if anyone has, a question, we're going to take questions and answers in at the end. So feel
Okay.
free to like jot them down in the chat, and we'll come back to them. But as you see, Sharon is very thorough, and that's what you definitely need in a realtor. You need a realtor is there to advocate for you. A realtor is there to, check and double check and triple check, right? And also to make sure ain't no scams being ran, right? There's some people that part of the scam. So you want to make sure that either way you go, you're going to home buyer or you're going to investment, having someone that can advocate for you and be patient enough to go through the process. So thank you so much. Next question. When do you think someone is financially ready to buy a home or to invest in real estate?
There's a couple things. So sometimes people, they feel like they are ready mentally, and then sometimes people are scared. However, the key things to be ready to actually purchase a home before going into a lender, sitting down with a lender, doing the application. Here are some things that they should be able to know and do. First and foremost, we want to establish a high credit score. The higher the credit score, the better the interest rate for you. So that's very important to establish a high credit score, making sure your DTI is low. That's your debt to income. If you got more debt than you have income, then not saying that you won't get approved, but that can cause higher interest rates as well. So that plays a major part. We just want to make sure that we're doing all our due diligence, doing your homework, making sure you're checking every box so that you can be ready before you even sit down with a lender. Because if you sit down with a lender and you're not ready, they're going to tell you, hey, you need to get these things together. You need to get that together. And if you don't have that backup plan, like someone to help you with your credit, then people sometimes get discouraged. They never even come back. So their dreams of purchasing a home is just out the window. So you need that person to just help you along the way. So what I do with clients when they come to me, I often use this one client as an example. Her and her husband, they wanted to get their credit together. And back then I used to assist with credit restoration. I no longer do that. It's just a lot to it. And they had a 2-year plan, and they stuck to that 2-year plan, and they bought their home, and they've been in their house. And at the time they only had 2 kids. Now they've been married 15, 16, 17 years. They have 6 kids, and they've been in that same home. So they stuck to that plan. We talked about, getting rid of some of that debt. Their debt to income was very, very high versus the money they was coming in. And actually, after they bought the home, the wife was able to quit her job and be a stay-at-home mom because they had the children. And it's still like that. So now she's about to graduate from college and going back to work, and the husband been holding everything down. Also, you want to have a savings for down payment, closing costs, property insurance, emergency funds. You want to at least have a 3 to 6 months reserve for emergency funds. You want to also make sure you have money, down payment. I know sometimes most people would say, oh, maybe I can get the seller to do my closing costs. That is a suggestion, doesn't mean that it's going to happen, because sellers don't always have to say yes. So my thing, I always ask people, do you have money for closing costs just in case? And if you don't, and if the seller can't pay, you can go to Brittany or another lender and ask, do they have some type of programs with products that have closing costs, that assist you with closing costs? And certain properties, they have in certain areas, and if you go with a certain lender, they do have those, and they'll have a sign in the yard to say, hey, this property qualified for closing costs. But I always recommend that you have money for closing costs. The other thing is, was there a second part of that question? You said when are they ready? Uh-oh, did I lose
My
you?
bad, I was on mute. No,
Okay.
that was it. You
Okay.
know, from a lender perspective, so this is my thing. When I work with my clients and I'm getting them ready to prepare for a mortgage, the difference between a lender and a realtor, I would never go look at a house with you. Only way I'm gonna see your house is on Zillow or when I look at the appraisal report. I
Exactly.
Sharon, she goes and looks with houses with you, right? I don't. Only thing I'm curious about is the numbers. You know, the numbers is numbering, the math is mathing. Sharon is making sure that the property is, up to par. Um, and so for me, I want my clients not ever, never, 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 never be house poor. House poor is you got a beautiful house and you ain't got no furniture. You got a beautiful house and you can't afford to get the water heater fixed or the furnace fixed, right? I never want to put my clients in that boat. I can get you qualified, but during the process, I'm going to tell you, I don't think you're ready. Because if something happens and you put all your money toward your closing costs or all your money toward your down payment, and then God forbid something happens, 2 years later after your home warranty expires or something of that nature, then what? Right? What happens if your car goes kaput, right? Or you need a new something, right? I don't want to put my clients in that situation. So I'm the realist. I'm not the mortgage lender that's just, thirsty for, I don't know what other word I can use besides thirsty, but thirsty for a loan, right? I want you to be ready, right? To be ready for the home buying experience, because this is a big purchase that you're making. And I don't want you to be just so emotionally charged that, you really don't have a nest egg anymore. So that's kind of the piggyback on what Sharon said.
Yeah, that's why I was talking about the 3 to 6 on top of having money saved for the closing costs, down payment, and all property insurance, property taxes, all of those things. Have at least a 3 to 6 months reserve for things like that, in case something
Yeah.
happens. And always look for a home warranty in the property, just in case something happens. At least a 1 year, look for a property. If they're not offering it, ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. Ask your agent to ask the listing agent, can they provide a home warranty, a 1 year home warranty, just in case. There'll be another cushion you can fall on in case you have a major uh, repair that needs to be done with any type of appliance or anything. And some home warranties even cover roofs. It just depends what type of package it is.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The other thing I wanted to say on that, the last thing I want to say on that question,
Yep.
I also want to add that making sure they do their search for that community where they know they want to purchase a home. Because when you purchase, wherever you purchase a home, just know you're buying into that community as well. So
Yes.
that's very important. That's something I like to tell people, do your search, do your research. It's not like how real estate is not like how it used to be back in the day when realtors, you know, used to hold your hand. It's so we are exposed to so much stuff on the internet, so you can do search yourself. So always do your search and make sure you looking into that community as well.
Yeah. Oh, I got a good story for that one. So my husband and I, when we were before when we were dating, not dating, we were engaged and we were, getting ready. So I was like, okay, we're gonna buy a house, right? So, you know, I was like, all right, let's buy a house. If y'all know the West, y'all don't know Columbus, but it's the west side of Columbus. And Columbus, the west side of Columbus is like not nice. It's not a nice place to live. But I was like, oh, this is an investment. We're only going, and this is before I had children. And I'm like, we're only going to be there for like a little couple, maybe like a year or so. This is we're going to buy it, we're going to hold it, then we're going to let it appreciate because it's the up and coming area. Like this is where we're going to live for just short term. And so my husband's a cop. So he over here, like, I can't believe this is how I know he loved me, because this is like prime central. Right? Like you go in the alley and people like out there nodding. But I see that it's an up and coming, like it's being gentrified. And I was like, let's get in on the ground level. And then once we get in, it's going to appreciate. We're going to make a whole bunch of money. Like we young, we single, what I mean? We ain't got no kids. So I wasn't thinking. I was just looking at the investment piece and the potential of the money. But I didn't see the neighborhood. I mean, I saw the neighborhood, but I really wasn't looking at the neighborhood. So, yeah. So by the time we got in, we stayed there for about a year. Reason being is because my husband and I were sitting in the living room and a bullet come flying through our window.
Oh,
If he
wow.
had been sitting up straight, he would have got shot in the head. So as soon as that happened, I called my best friend, like, all right, we leaving. She was like,
Wow.
Brittany, a bullet came through my living room window, right? So as an investor, you have to kind of be like, or homeowner, just don't look at the return in the numbers like I did, right? You got to actually look at the community, do your research on the community, because even if it's being gentrified, it has to go through that process. And so during the process, you've got a whole bunch of little boogers around there.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I said, you buy into the community. Like if you have children, you have to make sure that levy is passing for school system. You buying into that community. You buying the coffee shop. You buying the gym. You buying everything in that community. And that's one thing I like to just reiterate with clients when they looking. So do your research yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And then too, like think about, what if we didn't have the finances? What if we didn't have the opportunity or the credit, or, we let our credit go to kapoots in the process of, getting the home because we thought we was going to be here longer. Then when it's time for us to get up and leave, we couldn't leave. Right. So that's why I say it's time that we got to be ready. Like I really want my buyers to be ready to buy a house, because you never know what could happen that, when you got to hit deuces, like I got to go.
Yes.
Now. So that was good. I like that question. Hold on, we got some people in the
Yeah,
chat.
somebody had a question or something, didn't they?
Yep. So that's crazy. I would have left that night, girl. I was praying like Jesus. um, just like there are steps when trying to purchase your first home as a homeowner, can there be steps in trying to make your first investment?
Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
let's just go into that question.
I think we're going to get into that. I think that's one of the questions. Yes.
That is one of the questions. So we'll just let me see how I worded it, but it's basically the same question.
Which one?
Let's see. Can you walk through how an investor might analyze? Is that the one? What are the key? Okay, so what are the key things new investors should look for when evaluating a potential rental property?
Okay. So that one is of course, this is one of the key words in real estate. Location, location, location. That's like our main thing in real estate, location. You want to, if you're buying a investment property, even when you're living there too, but more so investment, you want to buy something near shopping, schools, jobs, public transportation, because if you're going to hold it, you got tenants that's going to be moving in. So that's important. What's important to people? where you want to live. You want to be close to shopping. You want to be close to a school if you have children. You want to be close to jobs if you don't have a vehicle to drive to work. You want to be close to public transportation. So that's important. That's what location, location, location. You want to also make sure that there's a demand for rental in the area where you're buying your investment property. That will increase your occupancy rate. If there's a demand for rental there, you probably be at 100%, 99 to 100% occupancy rate if you buy in that area. You want to also always factor in your operating expenses like your taxes, insurance, your maintenance, and reserves for vacancy rate. So if you do have any vacancy, just always factor those numbers in just in case. You want to make sure it's in a place where the tax is not so high that all your money is going towards property taxes. The insurance is comparable to what you're looking for. You want to make sure your net operating income, which is the income after your expenses, there's no hidden costs for your expenses, making sure that you setting that goal and making sure you at that goal. You may say, hey, in the first 5 years, I want to be at 10%. So you want to make sure in that area where you're purchasing this property and the type of property you're purchasing that you can create those, that you can meet those goals that you have set for yourself. Again, I want to just always this may be repetitive, but always making sure you no vacancy rate. We want to always be at 99%. I can truly say when I had my investment properties, and I actually went in this with a family member, and I didn't know all these things like I know, like I literally had to learn a lot of things as I went. I was always at a 99% occupancy rate, always. I actually got certified to get Section 8. I never even had a Section 8 tenant. All my clients, I don't like to say all the tenants that rented from me were cash paying tenants. So I was always at a 99% occupancy rate. And the one four suiter, I was really apprehensive about buying in that area, which it was my nephew. He passed away, rest his soul. He found this property and I was like, that's a bad area. I don't know about that. We ain't gonna make no money. But actually we did. I mean, it stayed occupied. However, I think I'm going to talk about that somewhere. You want to also, well, I can say that now. You want to also make sure you buy in the demographic. You want to make sure the type of people that's going to be moving in there. So one issue I did have because that area, and it was only with one of the units in there, it was a high turnaround because of the type of people that was renting to. In my book, I talk about background screening does not reveal character. So people may have a good background, but when they get in there, their character can be totally different. So if you got to constantly evict them, then your vacancy rate can go higher. So that's important. And then you want to make sure that the property, that's why it's great to know the location and all those other things I talked about, because if you want to sell that property later down the line, you want to make sure it have some value to sell as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So those are some of the things you can look for when you want to purchase a investment property. And the location, rental demand, make sure it's a place where it's a location with rental demand. You might want to just say, hey, do you have more homeowners here or more rental or a mixture of both? So you know that it will not be just sitting, because if you know it's a place where you have a cul-de-sac and it's all homeowners, you're probably going to get one or two renters. So.
So from a lending perspective, so that's from Sharon's side. So from a lending perspective, when you are getting ready to be an investor, there's a couple loan programs that's available. In one loan program, you can always go conventional. Conventional, they're going to take in consideration your credit. Also, they're only going to lend you up to 75% of the loan amount, right? So you got to put 25% of the, not the loan amount, of the appraised value. So you got to put 25% down. Okay. Those are not designed for fix and flip. Those conventional investment property loans are designed for the buy and hold. Okay. So that one does take in your income. You can put it in a business, but it's also going to look at you as being the personal guarantor. So as you being the personal guarantor, that is, you are the person responsible for the business. Okay. So with that being said, they're going to look at your income. Also, you have to put together what's called operation agreement. Basically, it's showing how your company is set up. If you can do a investment property as a sole proprietor, or you can do it, say you have an LLC. If you put the name in your LLC, we got to understand who's in your LLC. Where did the money come from? You know, are you embezzling money, or, you know, you scamming? So we want to make sure that we have a paper trail. So say, for instance, you have $30,000 in a business account that you're using for this funds, right? You got it in a bank account. We need to see where that money came from. If it's been sitting there for a while, then we can just see the deposits, right? That's gone in from bank statements. But if it's new money, then we got to figure out where that money comes from. If the money's like a 401k or, you know, investments, that's fine. We just have to see where the money comes from. The other thing is that there's a loan called DSCR. That type of loan is pretty cool because with that, the lending is much more flexible. You don't have to show all the underwriting paperwork. They're taking in consideration the ratio of how much money you're going to be bringing in for the buy and hold, how much money's coming in from the rent versus the amount that the payment is, right? The payment on the loan. So with the DSCR, we don't have to do a lot of paperwork on the back end. You just have to qualify by making sure that your rent that you're collecting is at least 1.5% higher than the amount of the loan. So the other thing is the hard money lender. Now, the hard money lender, in qualifying for them, they don't really, I mean, they run a credit, your credit got to really be like bad for them to decline it. But really what they're looking for is assets. They want to make sure that you have cash, you have assets on hand in order to lend you the money. What does that mean? They want to make sure that you have a reserve in place. They want to make sure that you have the money in place to fund the project in the event that something happens, and that all your money is not being dumped into this project. Also, with hard money lenders, the rate is going to be more expensive. And with that loan, that you only have 1 year to complete the project. You do have to complete what's called a scope of work prior to the project beginning. And what that scope of work is going to do is outline exactly how much the contractors and the cost of everything is going to be. They pay you on the back end. So say, for instance, your first job you're going to do is painting the outside. You paint the outside of the house. Well, you have to pay for the job up front, and then it reimbursed you. They're called draws. So they reimbursed you the money. So like I said, with the hard money, you got to have some money to play with. You don't want to just, you know, be dumping all that you have into the investment piece. They really want to see cash. I hope that answered your question.
And that goes back with that. What is the DRS? What's
a DSCR loan?
DSCR. That goes back to that area of demand for rental, because that loan is based on rental, you collecting rent to pay back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very important that you look at an area that is a demand for rental. Because like I said, if you go in an area where you have like a cul-de-sac and it's all home buyers, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get too many rental in there. So I wouldn't suggest, unless you get one property and that property is bringing in a lot of income.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing that people do is another option that you can do for kind of like kickstarting you into the investment piece, is that if you already own a home, and you bought that home as a FHA, right? Then you could refinance that home. If you have equity in there, refinance it as a cash out, put it into a conventional loan. Then that property will be your rental property, and then you go buy another property. Okay. And then you go buy another property, and you can use that as a conventional loan, and you put 5% down. You don't have to put 20. So that's another way that you can kind of like jumpstart into the investment property. game.
I just want to add one more thing to that too. Another way you can do an investment purchase. I had a client purchase investment property, I'm sorry, a property through, so sometimes people get credit card limits, $50,000 credit card limit, whatever. You can use that to purchase a home. A lot of people don't know that. You can use that to purchase a home versus going shopping with it, going on trips with it. Invest back into yourself. Use that money. I had a person pay cash on a credit card. Had a home listed in Cleveland and St. Clair area. For anybody that's on here from Cleveland, you know, St. Clair area, pay $60,000 cash to their credit card. Now, did they flip it? I don't know what they did with it, but you know, I'm just saying it was a smart move because they made some money. And if they flipped it, then they paid that credit card off. Even if they didn't, if you have a lower interest rate on that credit card, you're going to pay less a month back on that credit card than you are going to pay for a mortgage loan. Definitely a hard lender. So it's best to pay cash for it. You can use that way. I don't want nobody getting credit card debt, but just showing some savvy ways to purchase some investment property. But you have to be disciplined to be able to do those things. Not saying that nobody isn't. It's just a mindset thing.
You're right. Because it can really, if you're not strategic with it and you're not working with a good realtor or a good lender, you can really get yourself out on a limb and be like, oh shoot, my feet are dangling. There's no land under there, right? So you want to make sure that you're working with a good team that can help you navigate it, because it can be a little challenging. All right, perfect. So I hope this is keeping y'all's attention. I don't see y'all's pretty faces except Rosalind, but I hope that if y'all feeling this, can y'all put a thumbs up, put something in the chat, give me a hand clap, oh, there we go. We see somebody. Hey, lady. All right. So we got some
you have another question in there? Are you taking questions now?
Oh, no. That would think we answered. Did we answer your question? Did we answer you?
Oh, yes, can you hear me? Well, yeah. Hold on. Oh, my question was answered. I would just like to see like a list, like a step by step.
Oh, okay.
You know, I like to cross off things when I do those. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll put my calendar in the chat, and then we can schedule a time and we can go through a breakdown.
Okay.
That's simple.
Yes.
Simple as ABC. All right. So let's go to let's see. We answered a lot. We answered a lot of these. Okay, can you walk us through how an investor might analyze a deal before making an offer?
When I saw that question, I was like, okay, this, you know, it's not tricky. It's just these investors, they can be a little what's the word I want to use? Not scammy or anything like that. Just they have their own way of how they think things supposed to go when you buy an investment property. So one, first and foremost, as Brittany mentioned multiple times here, hire you a knowledgeable, trustworthy realtor to help you through the process, first and foremost. So a lot of investors, they get realtors after when they should have the realtor first. So the goal, of course, with anybody that's doing any type of investment, whether it's a property, any type of investment, you want to know about your ROI, which is return on your investment. That's the goal, to get a return on your investment. Set your goals, what you think your return is going to be, what you want your return to be, what you're looking at. Just know that that's going to always have to be adjusted down the line because things are going to change. You want to look for properties that has been on the market for a while. Nothing coming soon, nothing new, primarily off-market properties, probably wholesale properties, but they mostly look for properties that's been on the market for a while. I work with quite a few investors, and those are what they look for because they know chances are they will get them for a little less than, you know, because they've been on there. You know, a lot of people would like to say, oh, if a property been on the market longer than 90 days, something must be wrong with it. Sometimes property just don't move as fast as other properties does. So they look for those. Most investors, they use a 70 to 75% formula to determine their AVR. And that goes to that question I was going to ask you, Brittany, when you were showing your 2 houses. Did you, and you don't have to answer, it's just a question I was going to ask you. Did you determine, you said what you purchased for and what you sold them for, the one that you flipped, did you calculate your AVR? So that's a question you can probably come back later, but that, which is AVR, is an after value repair. What would the house value at once you finish the repair, the AVR? So they look for that. They use their own formula, not a formula that we come up with, not a formula that it's a real estate thing. It's just that they make their own formulas, and the investors that I work with use a 70 to 75% formula. This helped them submit offers, which sometimes when they submit these offers, the offers are submitted very, very low, which they then sometimes get turned down. What I see a lot with investors is that they actually put offers in on the property before they look at the property. So to walk you through, I would suggest you look at the property first, even have your contractors come with you to look at the property, and then submit the offer. They kind of do it backwards because they're going on their form, they're going on their own formula and how they want things to go. But my suggestion is, you said, to walk you through, I would say look at the property first. Make sure you look at property that's been on the market for a while, maybe something that's been off the market and came back on. It'll say on there back on BOM, which means back on market. So if you ever see that in there, go back, and it may be like, it'll look like a new listing, but if you say be back on market, BOM, that means, hey, what was going on? Maybe I can get this property for a little less. You know what I'm saying? So I would say look at those. Look at properties that have been on the market. Again, I'm being a little bit repetitive, but I just want to make sure you retain this and keep this there. And make sure you look at the property before you go submit an offer. Even have your contractor go with you, and then do your inspection. But always put that contingency clause into that inspection, just in case things you end up not wanting, because these are legal and binding contracts, and then it's just not that easy to get out of contract, because that's when people can start getting sued. Yeah, so yeah, those are the things. Property has been on the market longer than 90 days. Well, I'll say 60 to 90 days. Back on market properties. Make sure you have a goal of what you want to see coming in of your ROI, and then look at the property and take your contractor with you before submitting the offer.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna double down on that. Thank you so much for that. So I'm having flashbacks. I'm sorry, just having flashbacks. So you want to make sure that you have a realtor who will dedicate the time to you, right? You want to make sure that your realtor, even if they have a lot of transactions on their plate, and interview them, ask them, do you have, how many deals you working on? How many clients you working on? Because if they, trying to be, doing all these transactions, well, when I need you, I need to talk to you, right? So that's number one. Number two, you want to, because the investment piece is not a quick buy, right? An investor, you're going to go on a lot of different, you're going to be looking for that deal because it's a number, it's the amount of money you want to make at the end. And so if the math is not mathing, then it's like, nah, I'm straight, right? Nah, I'm good. So you want to make sure that your realtor is patient and is not having too much on their plate to be able to work with investors. That's a whole nother different gorilla. The other thing is that contractors, God bless their heart, I think they mean well, but they too have a lot of stuff on their plate, right? They have a lot of, may have a lot of projects that they're working on. And see, as an investor, you don't have time. Now I'm getting flashbacks again. You don't have time to be letting this project sit for a month, weeks at end. It's taking you like a month to put some carpet down. You understand? So you ain't got time for that as an investor. You got to understand the contractor you got to understand with the contractor, like, listen, we are on a time frame. Boom, boom, boom. How many projects do you have going on? If you got 5, 6 projects on your plate, well, you don't have time for me, right? Especially if I'm investing and I'm not in the city, if I'm in another city, in another state. So they can let that project sit for a minute because you're not around. And then when you do come back around, guess what? Oh yeah, well now we working. We working. Oh yeah, we working. No, you wasn't working because that time is money, right? And when that bill is due, and two, let me double click. So with a hard money loan, you are making payments while that property is being rehabbed, right? The payments are due. So you have to factor that into your costs. So with that being said, if your payment on that property while it's getting rehab is $1,000 a month, either you're going to have to write that into the scope of work, right? And put your number so that is in there. Or you got to come out of your reserves to make that mortgage payment. And so if you're working with a contractor who is, have so many different projects going on, then that's costing you money. So that's so important. Like, if I can stress the importance of having a great realtor who is not overly stretched, and will really take your property search to heart, as well as a good ethical contractor, that will be transparent and that will do the work morally.
Yeah, that is true. I want to just kind of add to that. I'm not having flashback, but I had an experience like that as well with my four-sweeter. When it comes to contractor, I would just say, I mean, you can interview them, but make sure you read reviews, get everything you need to know about them. I would say the independent ones, because they're looking for bigger projects and allowing your projects to sit. Mm-hmm. And I say that because it happened to me. My roof and my four-sweeter was like leaking. Like when it rained, rain was pouring through the people's house. And I had paid this contractor to do the job. I had a business credit card for Home Depot. He went and got the rolls for the roof. It was in my building. But then I would see him on Facebook doing other jobs. And I'm like, hey, what's up? You supposed to be over here. Oh, then he would send somebody, he'd pay somebody else $2 or $3 to go over there, and it's not getting done. So I was like, you know what? I can't do this. I'm done. Tenants calling me. We can't do this. I looked up a guy on that Angie's list, and I got another guy. He actually used to be a broker. When I tell you, they did my roof in 2 days and it was done. Like, I went with a reputable company. I researched, I looked. So I don't deal with independent people. And this is somebody who I grew up with, went to school with. So I kind of steer away from that. I'm not saying everybody is like that, because I do. My electrician, I've been knowing him for over 30 years. He's awesome. I'll use him anytime, every time. Not everybody's the same, but just be mindful when you hiring people. Just go down the line. Just go down the line and just make sure you're getting reputable people that's going to make sure your job. And I understand, contractor's point of view. If this is a bigger job, if this job paying me 10,000 and you paying me 1,000, of course I'm gonna do this one first. That's just, that's how contractors think, but at the end of the day, this job still has to be done because you are a client as well. And just make sure you find a reputable person, as Brittany said, honest, and interview people. Don't be afraid to ask questions because it's your money.
Ask questions, have contracts.
Yes.
Have contracts, have deadlines. You got to put your stern hat on. And at the end of the day, they may or may not like you. Oh, well, I'm here to do business.
Yeah. And fire them if you have to. Fire them.
That nice knowing you. May the Lord be with you.
Yes. This is your investment. This is your investment. We talked about this earlier. It's one of the important things that you would make in your lifetime. So this is your investment. If you have a family, this is how you're going to feed your family. So
yes. Amen to that. Well, this has been an awesome Money Making Monday. y'all had trauma that y'all done came, the trauma that came back. But I'm just playing. But nah, this was great. I put in the chat, I have my calendar, and then I have a form. I want everybody to fill out a form. If you are interested in getting into, thank you. If you're interested in getting into real estate, if you want to be an investor, you don't know where to start, fill out a form. I'm going to link you up with, we're going to do our talk, because I talk about the numbers, and then I'm going to send you over to Sharon. I have full confidence that Sharon will take very good care of you. Okay. She ain't about the mess. Okay. She gonna marry me. If she marry me, then I know she gonna do the right thing.
Listen, I learned this new thing when I went to this, Brittany, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I'm not stepping over dollars trying to chase nickels.
I know that's right.
I learned that from this other agent a couple of weeks ago when I was at the Columbus Board of Realtors. What that means is, if a person's not ready, I'm not wasting my time.
Yep.
And
That's
don't be
true.
afraid to say, hey, I'm not ready. Can you still help me along the way? We're not going to leave you. We're here to give you a hand up, not a handout. So just don't ever be afraid to ask questions. I have another book that was, it's kind of like, I self-published a book that Brittany talked about, but this other one's a ghostwriting book, and it's just for sellers. I give that one away free to sellers. And all my reviews in there, when I was reading reviews from clients I work with, they said that I educate them, I talk to them, I'm there to answer questions. And as Brittany told you, I am an educator. That's in my core as an educator, but I do teach at the school as well. So I'm here to ask questions. Don't ever be afraid to ask questions. You have a question, no question is a dumb question. Just ask.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what school is it that you teach at?
I'm down here in Columbus now, so I do in the 2 districts, 1 private school and 2 districts. I do Big Walnut District and Olentangy District, and a Christian Academy school. But when I was in Cleveland, I did Cleveland Municipal Schools. I did schools in Twinsburg and Brecksville.
Okay.
So you probably know.
That was before I moved down here. That was like 9 years ago. So maybe, I don't know. It's been a minute. Yeah. If they from Cleveland Municipal, I probably do know someone from there. Yes. But don't feel afraid to ask questions.
Yes.
Brittany, you can put my email, and you can text me. You can text.
What's your email? I'm going to put it in the chat.
You can do the Mandy Property ones. Do that one.
Mandy Property. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna put her email in the chat. This was awesome. I hope and pray that everyone got something out of this. Let's give it up for Sharon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yes,
so this was great.
Thank you.
So I got her email in there. And please fill out the form. We'll be in contact. Next week, we're gonna have we're coming back at them. We're gonna see, people say, I want to sell my house. I'm gonna get access to my equity, stuff like that. So we're gonna talk about how those processes work. So